Hello everyone. So my name is Arijit Nandi and I'm the founder of the Ink and Quill Collective. And it's really an honor to be here in Goa, particularly at GALF. And thank you so much for arranging an indoor conference room with the lovely temperature. It's so easy to conduct the session. Thank you very much. So who are we and what do we do is a question that we'll be answering today. And I'll try to make the next hour less painful than one might think it could be. All right. So we don't call ourselves a writers community. We rather call ourselves a family of writers. And we are a group of dedicated writers who support and encourage each other while working on our own projects. And at IQC, we particularly emphasize on writing and craft. But more than that, we focus on building connections and friendships. And I think that's one important factor that's missing in the writers community around the globe. More than just writing, we also focus on the opportunities and sharing resources, networking, peer feedback, and how we do that, we'll obviously touch on those points later. I like to call IQC more like a steaming pot of many flavors. And why I say that is because we have in our family a group of seasoned writers, newbie writers, homemakers, working professionals, even academicians, students, etc. And think of any profession, you'll probably find somebody in IQC. So today in the panel, I have with me Mr. Nolan, who I like to call Lee. And he's a second in chair at IQC, and he writes thriller and horror, loves blood and gore, and has a keen sense of the macabre. But he is one of the sweetest person that you'll ever meet. And he's been writing since the 90s and has been sharing his expertise with all our fellow members. Next is Arunima, Tenzin, Taba, and Subi, two of our core members who have shared an incredible journey together as writers, and we will share that in the upcoming hour. And Arunima is a person who's always ready with insightful and constructive criticism for our members, and she's one of the most consistent early morning writing sprint members. Always, never misses a single session. So the next person we have here is Subi, who has been a friend way before IQC was formed, and a fellow writer as well. She was Miss Northeast in 2013 and an incredible writer with a poetry book, anthology, and is currently awaiting the launch of her debut book. She's one of our most passive members. And you could call that a lurker, but and her journey is something we'll explore today. And if you ask me why, it is to understand how our writing family is equally helpful both for active people as well as passive members in order to pursue their writing journey. Okay, so while we have introduced Ink and Quill Collective, the next question that comes to our mind is how did we really form, right? And so all our founding members belong to different writing platforms. We met each other on lit fests, writing contests, etc. And then we gathered together, and we had this initial organization called, or WhatsApp group rather, called the Sprint at 10:30 a.m. And that's where we started. And it was like a humble, just writing sprint group where you connect together, just connect on Google Meet, and then we write together for an hour. That was way back in 2023, but we evolved soon into something much bigger, and we are here to share that journey with you. So the next thing that we would like to understand is what we do. At Ink and Quill Collective, we have several things, all dedicated to how we can engage the writers. And the first thing and the foremost, which is the base core function of our group, is writing sprints. The next thing that we do is peer reviews and monthly author meets, annual challenges like November Writing Challenge or April Poetry Writing Challenge. Then we have our biannual magazine which just launched, and we would love to share that with you. And we have certain other initiatives because we believe that IQC has a purpose much bigger than just being a writers community. Uh, our vision is to make an ecosystem where you have every stakeholder of the writing industry, like be it publicist, be it a bookseller, be it a artist or writer or editor, all come together and support each other. We want to make this whole writing, the industry or the profession, more transparent than what it is at this current stage. And this I'm talking about for newbie writers, you know, who enter into this domain and are always like scared, okay, what happens next after I finish my writing, etc. Right? So we'll be talking more about that, but I would like to ask Lee to probably introduce some of the things that we do. Probably let's start with writing sprints, because Lee has been one of the most consistent hosts of the writing sprint. So over to you, Lee. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. And, it's wonderful to be here today, and thank you very much for attending. I think that one of the core principles, and one of the things that bind IQC together are the sprints, the writing sprints. And motivation is something that some writers struggle with and some writers don't. You know, we all have different levels of get up and go when it comes to actually putting the pen on the page. And we found that writing sprints is something that binds the community together in such a way that not only is it inspirational to write, but it helps to form that community and that family feel. So generally what we'll do is we have hosted sprints throughout the day on a sprint link, and we meet and we'll have a chat for 15 or 20 minutes, catch up on what everybody is doing and try to overcome any problems that people may be having, and we move on from that. Then we go silent, and you're free to write for as long as you wish. No need to log out, you just leave when you're done. And we found that this really helps people to sort of establish a firm writing routine. And that's half the battle. When you sit down in that writing chair and you know it's time to write, then that's what you do. You don't get distracted on Instagram, you don't get distracted by email, you don't wander into the multitudes of things out there that are demanding your attention. When it's writing time, it's sprint time, and that's when you get your work done. So we found that this is a great way to bring our community together, and we've devised it in such a way that there are hosted sprints among the administration. So at 7 a.m., at 9 a.m., at 10:30 a.m., and again it's 9 p.m., right? 9 p.m., there's these organized sprint times, but the sprint link itself is open 24/7 for all members. So if you suddenly get the urge to write, no matter what the time of day, you simply go into the sprint group, you drop a message in our chat that says, we affectionately call it the writing cave. So we'll say, going into the cave. And I've found that it doesn't really matter what time of day it is. I've done it at 2:30 in the morning, and somebody will say, oh, me too, I'm coming. And you can have that little informal chat and catch up, and it's just building this wonderful community, and people are free to use this whenever they like. So it'll always be, I think, the backbone of what Ink and Quill is. We started as a sprint group, and while we've grown, it certainly still is something that we hold very dear to our hearts.
Yeah, and one of the most important thing about the writing sprint is that this is the place in that first 15 minutes, right, where we break down the walls, our insecurities, right? That, oh, maybe I'm not a good writer. Maybe my ideas are not worth it. Or maybe okay, I'm stuck with the writer's block. Maybe I'm not worth it, right? This is the spot where you discuss, where you talk. And the talk is always candid. We never say that you have to be very technical about what you need or what you don't need. And and once we've had, I think, sessions where one of our members said that they were stuck at a particular point in the story, and all of us took turns to discuss how you could explore the next phase, and it worked. It definitely worked, and and we have almost 400 happy family members right now joining our writing sprints, and that's across South Asia. We have members from India, we have members from Pakistan, Nigeria, and this is one thing that I want to focus on, our presence as an online community, and that's why we have the title called Bridging the Gap, or Bridging, whatever, among the writing communities. It's like, we don't want people to be geographically restricted, that today this is like a Bangalore writing group or a Mumbai writing group. It's open out there, and we wanted to make an online platform work. If you're joining the Google Meet, we wanted to make sure that it's productive for you. If you're joining an author meet session online, we want to make sure that it's productive for you. So having said that, Arunima, you've been again a consistent member in the morning sprints. Could you just walk us through a little bit? Yeah.
I'd like to add, I think I'm consistently on the morning sprints because I start writing at 5. And the sprints start at 7, so it's a very good break. You work for 2 hours and you have a 15-minute chat, and then you can get back into the flow. So you don't have to start with them. You can always kind of fit a writing sprint into your routine, and it works really well. But other than just community, what you get is also people who are interested in language as much as you are. So when I was working on this book is when I was on the sprints the most, for instance. And I had to change this book from third person to first person and from past tense to present tense over and over again because I couldn't make up my mind. And I had people in the sprints ready to debate, is past tense better or present tense better? Nobody in your real life wants you to talk about these things. Absolutely no one cares if your book is in the first person or the third person other than you and 5 writers who show up at 7 a.m. to put their heads together and talk about it. So I think that's what's really special about having a writing community, that someone is just as crazy about these things as you are. And that's something that we found here.
Thank you so much. I think Subi would like to hear from you as well, like, how you consider writing sprints a bit.
Hi, everyone. Today, it's Valentine's Day, so happy Valentine's Day to everyone. So, for me, Ink and Quill Collective has been a very important part of my writing journey because as a writer, we need to keep balance. We need our personal space for writing, but we also need someone's, inputs. So, sometimes having an online platform gives you the privacy as well as the distance. You can disconnect whenever you want. It's not that all the 400 members of the group are sitting right across you. So Ink and Quill Collective gives us the space. Like some mornings we join the sprints. Sometimes we get busy, so we don't. So it has given me the space, even though I might not have participated in all the morning sprints, but the members, they are so generous. Everyone comes up with the latest updates about writing competition, prizes, different fellowships that are out in the writing world. Because as a writer, in our normal life, we don't get a lot of people who talk about writing or who will update us about writing fellowships. Like for instance, I'll give an example of Arijit. Like when I had finished my manuscript, I was just discussing with Arijit, like, who will publish a short story collection? Because every literary agents, they are always looking for longer form of fiction, like novels. Short story doesn't have market. So I was discussing with Arijit, and in a week, there was this Jaipur Lit Festival. They had, like, the perfect pitch, and I wouldn't have known if it wasn't Arijit. Like, he sent me, like, why don't you send your manuscript or synopsis here? So I said, yeah, let me try. And luckily, it got shortlisted. And eventually, the synopsis was declared as a winner in Jaipur Literature Festival, which has led me to have a signing deal with Penguin Random House. So just see the importance of having a community and friends, writer friends, who without any hesitation or any kind of jealousy or competition support you on your own journey of writing. So, and also the fact that 4 of us are here in Goa Art and Literature Festival. Like Lee, we have done so many sprints, but I'm meeting him for the first time in person. Arunima, I'm meeting her for the second time. She was also finalist in the Jaipur Literature Festival, The Perfect Pitch. And yeah, Arijit, we have been together as friends and writing buddies. Yeah, before this group started. So yeah, I cannot emphasize enough the importance of having an online or offline writing community. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. So on that note, I'd also like to mention that Arunima and Subi both share that same journey because Arunima was also one of the shortlisters, finalists of the Pitch Perfect contest. And that's how they started the journey together. And look at them, like they did not even plan it, but they both are in the same community today. So, that's how the connections work. Like, today in our chatting platform, I'd like to give you an idea of how our chat platform works. We work primarily on WhatsApp communities. So we have a primary group, which is called the main discussion group, which talks about anything related to writing or any ideas you have or any like information you'd like to share, like contest or publication, this, that. And then there are regional groups like Mumbai, and we call it Mumbai family, Bangalore family. We never say Mumbai community or anything of that sort. So these groups are for us to encourage people that if you're visiting Mumbai or if you're visiting Bangalore, you can just put it up on the group and you can physically meet them, because we would definitely want to do that, right? And make lasting relationships among our community. So that's how we primarily function. And we recently launched our website as well, and I'll be sharing all the details, and you can always have a look at all the things that we do there. Now I'd like to mention about another important thing, the peer review. Yeah? One minute? Yeah, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we just before you rush on to the peer review, which is a fascinating part of our collective, but I think something that Arijit is sort of hinting at here is that one of the biggest reasons when we all sort of found each other, the core members of this group way back, before we were anything near what we are now, it became very clear that there was a void, this bridge,
yes,
that we needed to cross. And for those of you that write or are just starting out, or even for seasoned writers, there's always this perception that it's a very desolate, lonely road that you trudge on your own. And I know myself as a writer, whenever I meet another writer in a social situation or even a professional one, that my antenna immediately come in. I don't want to share too much. Don't steal my plot. I'm always very tentative when I'm discussing things with another writer. But when the core of us met up, we realized if you break down those walls, it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be a lonely journey. And once you sort of embrace that, and you start to share in a family and community feeling, it makes that desolation just vanish, doesn't it? And it becomes so much more manageable, when you're looking at that blank page, to know that there's friends right next to you that you can reach out to at any time and say, hey man, the words aren't coming. And they'll give you some,
And we never hesitate from speaking absolutely truthfully about what we think, because we all know that we just love each other and we care. That's why we are very honest about feedback. Now, having said that, I think we should ask the audience also a few things. I mean, I'm pretty sure there are a couple of people out here who are writing at this stage. Can I see a raise of hand? Yeah. Also, yeah, they're there as well. Yeah. So there are writers here, right? Can I see a couple of hands raised who are writers? Okay, couple. All right. So yes, of course. So I'd like to ask you one question. Is that when you started writing at the initial stage, right? When you finished that first page or a couple of pages, or you finished your entire draft, who did you reach out to first time?
Another poet.
Another poet, and that was among your friend circle, or?
And don't think so. I had a fun.
Okay.
I could. And so I had the confidence I could discuss it with her. I mean, she would say, okay, maybe you could or you needn't. Finally, it's mine. So I said, okay, it's mine, so I'm going to hold on to it. I might not change. Maybe I'll go back to it 10 years later and do little things to it. But I would like to know what you think. That's it.
So that's awesome. You've had your questions formed. You knew exactly what you wanted from your reviewer, right? But among others, sir, I would like to ask you, when you wrote anything, like a short story or anything, who's the first person that you go for? Or you look around your immediate surroundings.
A difficult question to answer for me, perhaps. I don't have such a broad volume of writing, unfortunately. But since moving to Goa, then the Goa Writers Group is a group that I reach out to.
So yeah, you sir have been very lucky that you've been in the company of Goa writers. But for me, before IQC was formed, or even before I met Subi.
How would you say this as well?
Yeah.
No more
We are, so we've been under a different name prior. When we started as a writing sprint group, that was in 2023. And in last year, in February, this is our anniversary month, by the way. Yes. And we are so happy that Gal coincided at this time because we're celebrating in big ways, but yeah. So in 2024, we rebranded ourselves as Ink and Quill Collective. I think the idea was his. Ink and Quill Collective came out of this big brain. But well, yeah, we had a clear vision of what we wanted to do. Just the name came later, and we were Ink and Quill Collective from 2024. Yeah, that's the word. Yeah. So okay. Coming back to that. Before the writing sprints, or I knew most of them, I wrote like a little bit of things, and the immediate person I would go to is my friends. Some people go to their family members, and they will always have good things to tell. Wow, you wrote such an epic thing. It's gonna be a big hit, right? But we all know, like, that's not really what we seek. We need the support, we need like critique and all those things. And this is where the next topic comes, which is like weekly peer reviews. And we do that every week consistently. Last year, we did 52 weekly peer reviews and a special section, I'll come to that. But all right, talking about peer reviews, the format is simple. Once a month, we take the bidding session, which we call it. We don't take money. Let's be very clear, no money involved in IQC. But what we do is we tell the authors that, okay, open call for next month, March, and then people start booking their slots. And it runs faster than Tatkal tickets. Trust me on that. Within 5 minutes, booked. All Fridays are booked. All Saturdays are booked. People do that. And then the slot that you book on Monday, you send us a document, which is max 5,000 words. Short story, poetry, non-fiction, anything, or an excerpt. And then we put an RSVP message. And all the community members who have the time, they RSVP and they get access to the document, which is again a very private feature of the author or who's submitting. And we always help for the, so I really don't want to use the word technically challenged, but then I cannot find another word for it, but okay. So that happens, and people like RSVP, and they get the whole week to read that. And on Fridays or Saturdays, they come together at 10 a.m. and then they review it. And nobody holds back. Nobody holds back in the sense like we are not rude, but we tell you what you need to hear. If it is bad, we'll tell you bad, but we'll also say something good so that you don't feel too bad. And that's how we function, right? It's quite...
It's another unique feature of Ink and Quill, and you touched on it by saying there's never any money involved. We don't charge for anything. That's not what we're about. We're not an organization. We're not a company. We're not a corporation. We're just a band of writers, a happy band of misfits, right?
Yes.
And so we're not looking to make money or become famous or anything. We're just looking to bond together with people, like-minded people. Family, exactly. And so to that end, everything that we do, as the few of us that are lucky to be in the admin, everything we do is driven specifically for the members. The members come first. We're not concerned with profits. We're not concerned with bottom lines. We're not concerned with what our Instagram profile, how many likes and follows. We don't care about any of that. Our only concern is our members and what benefits them. So what Arijit was alluding to there about when we don't hold back, behind that, because that sounds a little scary when you say it like that, but behind that, we've discovered that, and we honestly believe that, as a writer, you need to learn what you've done wrong or could do better in order to grow. And so the entire culture that we're trying to foster within the peer review is that critique is not a bad thing. I mean, I've been writing for 30 some odd years, and when I get a bad review, I still cringe. I go in the bathroom and shut the door and cry. I mean, that's just human nature. But after a point, and in the right environment, you begin to learn that critiques are good, and you really do want them. Especially when they come from an environment that they're being delivered to you, not out of malice or not out of any sort of one-uppery, but they're being given to you because people really care, and they want to help you improve your writing. They love this piece. They want this piece to get published in Bombay Lit or to the New Yorker, if that could, and we support each other in that way. So the critique that's given to you, while sometimes it can be very critical and maybe a little harsh, always comes from a place of love. So as writers, we learn to accept that, and it makes it a lot easier when you're never going to please everybody all the time. And this is always going to be a constant battle as a writer. Something they don't like it, or they said maybe you should have done it this way. How you overcome that is to learn that those things actually are designed to help you improve. They're not trying to tear you down. And that's something that we take very, very seriously at IQC.
So yeah, so that's how we actually function. And Arunima, you've had a review session yourself. So would you like to say something?
I have. I had my own. I sent him an excerpts of one of my novels, and it was actually very useful because what you realize is that sometimes you know things are not working, but till you hear 10 people say it's really not working, you're not willing to change. And when you hear 10 people who you trust their work because you've read their work in various other peer reviews. So you know that they're coming from a place of understanding. And that's an extremely kind of valuable lesson to take away. The other thing is you're getting this before you send your work out to editors, before you've kind of let anyone else actually see your work. So all your mistakes get caught. And you're able to kind of workshop this. You have people who say, change these things and send it to me again. And I'll relook at it and see if you've actually made a difference to the thing that didn't work for me in the first place. So actually you have one peer review, but you have 5 people from that who are willing to read 6 drafts of that same piece of work. And then when you send that out, it's so well workshopped and so polished that you're bound to get published somewhere. And that's a really special thing that you get out of the peer reviews.
So thank you very much. So that was like peer review, and something that evolved out of peer review was in the month of September this year. So among writers and both plan to get their works published in the big magazines, that September is a crazy month. That's when all the big magazines have their deadlines of submission, open calls at that month. So we focused on September and did something unique. What we did was we had a special peer review session called the September Submission Madness. It ran across the month. So we selected a few who really wanted to submit to big magazines, and we conducted back-to-back 3 reviews. And the challenge was this, that the first review happens, whatever feedback comes, you have to finish that work within a week. Come for the second review, do that work, then the next. So out of these 10, 5 made it to the finals. They completed 3 rounds of review, worked on it, went to the next, and we have those names on our Instagram page. We had a good time celebrating that, and 2 of them have given their works on magazines, and they're waiting for the results. So that was another very exciting phase in September that we did. After peer review, there's another thing that I'd like to talk about is guest author meets. We have had an incredible number of sessions, and that's a podcast that we like to call A Writer's Journey. We've had authors like Perumal Murugan, we have had Sihan Karunatilaka sir, we had Achal Malhotra, and a host, Prayag Akbar himself, who's from Goa. So our format for this was not really to discuss their books, rather to look at their practice and the way they've written their works from a writer's perspective, right? And these sessions are usually an hour, so where we talk about 5 stages of their writing. The ideation process, the first draft process, the editing process, the publishing process, and how do you move on to the next project, right? So we've got a clear set pattern, and with that we cover the entire discussion within an hour, and we do Q&A. And that's always lovely. So people interact with the author on the call, and that happens again on Google Meets. So again, an online thing. And
And my goodness, authors, I think that most have been forced to do promotion and interviews about their books. When you get them in this sort of atmosphere, my goodness, do they love to talk about their process. They really do. And we've had some really big authors. And they don't hold anything back. They'll tell you exactly what they have for breakfast to get in the right headspace to tackle that. It's amazing how much authors love to share. Again, proving the point that in the right environment, we can break down that isolation.
So all these things that we have been doing has been like a step-by-step process. We didn't begin everything at the first day itself. It took us a while to recognize that. And then the more we identify what we as writers need, we curate a program to, cater to that. Now, talking about writers, there is this other thing that I've been talking about, like our vision to create an ecosystem. And one of the initiatives that we did in IQC was to tie up with independent booksellers and help them with their sales and procure books from our guest authors, get signed copies from them or any format, and then sell it among our members. And that was one thing where we wanted to connect booksellers, authors and writers, make that dots connected and see how it works. And I have my lovely friend in the audience himself, Martin. He's from Ukiyo Bookstore in Fall, and his bookstore is the first one with whom we had this collaboration, where we had procured copies of Prayag Akbar's book when he released it, as well as Perumal Murugan sir's books. And our members have been actively supportive about this initiative. In the future, we would like to expand that to more independent bookstore to kind of I don't know if it is challenge because we're not on a war path here, but to help, safeguard what they have beautifully built over the year against whatever challenges is available. And I wouldn't want to take the names, but yeah, that's there. And apart from this sort of initiative, we also try to have initiatives with, wherein this year we focus more on English writing authors. After having a session with Perumal Murugan sir, we realized that regional languages have far more unexplored territory. So this year, we are initiating a special version of Writer's Journey where we'll be covering regional literature. We'll be doing say Mizoram literature, Manipur literature, Kashmiri literature. We are at the moment figuring out all the necessary details, and then so that we can curate the best for our community and family. So that was one thing, and right after that, what should we talk next about? Are there other things?
Well,
Yeah.
just quickly, I think, because we're kind of sounding like this rather academic, academic institution, and we're not really. We're all about having fun as well. We like to do these narration nights, and so once every couple of months, we'll take I myself, I write thriller horror. Arunima is also I was close. I struggle so much with her name. Also thriller. Subi writes, I think, in the sort of spec fic, magical realism. So what we like to do in these narration nights is we'll push people out of their genre. Now, I've been writing horror stories and blood and gore and guts and monsters for so long. I don't think I can do anything else, and then all of a sudden I get challenged to write a romance, and I'm not allowed to kill anybody. Now, I don't really know what to do at this point. So we do that. We set up these narration nights. We'll give them themes like summer romance or whatever the case. And we write 500 words, and we take all the pressure off. There's no peer review. Spelling doesn't have to be right because we get together on a meeting, and we just narrate it. And it's just a fun night to push yourself out of your box and sort of maybe discover a genre that you didn't think you could write but really enjoy.
Well, it's a fun day.
Very much. A lot of laughs.
So those recordings are available on a YouTube channel. You can always go visit and see the narration nights and all. And we would like to quickly move on to our release, the biannual magazine, which we have it was an unknown territory for us to step into publishing something of that nature. It is a purely homegrown magazine with writers, editors, and me myself, I had to contribute to the web design and everything from within the family itself. We did not have to hire anybody from external, and we supported our local artist who was from Nagaland to do our artwork, and it's all available on our website. You can check it out, and I'd like to present a view of our cover page. So this is Quill Mark, and Quill Mark is our biannual magazine, and we'll have 2 editions every year. We hope to. We learned a lot from this. It took a while, but thank you so much. All pictures taken?
Well, it's is it baby?
Yes, we will definitely frame it, not throwing it out. So yeah, Arunima here has been our like editor in the editorial panel in fiction. Lee has also helped us with the editorial work. So Arunima, over to you to talk about the experience.
So this magazine was quite a challenge, I think, for all of us because most people on the editorial panel had not really edited professionally either. So it was a lot of learning from both sides, actually. What was interesting was we had fiction, we had creative non-fiction, we had poetry, and we had a really nice section called When a Story Finds Its Kind of Home, where people wrote about a piece that gets rejected over and over again, but ultimately it managed to find a magazine or a book or a kind of some place that accepted that story. So these were the categories we worked through this magazine. And I would say as a fiction editor, it was, well, like the narration nights for me, getting out of my comfort zones, editing genres that I don't read. And I think that was a really good learning experience. It was also really nice to be able to read each other's works, to see friends submit, to have the confidence in editing a friend's work, to also know that they trust you enough that they're sending work to you. And I think that was a really good kind of bond that the magazine has built in the community.
Arunima's going to kill me because I promised I wouldn't tell this story, but I'm going to anyway. But things got very hectic. I contributed a story early in the going for the magazine because we were worried initially that we may not get enough submissions. So I volunteered a story, and it turned out that we did get enough submissions. But anyway, things got a little scrambled, as Arunima said. We were very new at this, and folders got misplaced, and stories got mismanaged, and things ended up all over the place. And we were trading feedback back and forth to each other. And I got this feedback that said, "This is horrible. Who wrote this? It's awful." And it was my. But again, going back to knowing that it was coming from a place of love, it did help me view the story, and I did make massive revisions to it. And also, granted, she was a little flustered at that point. He was being a little more harsh than necessary. Yeah, it had been a long day, and we're much closer now for it, I think.
So yeah, that's one example of how friendships last, even though you get like really bad feedback. But yeah, so talking about releases, I mean, like Quill Mark has been a dream for us. We didn't anticipate the amount of patience and everything, and I'm really, really grateful, and I cannot say enough to all the members who have been supportive in that process. Hated me as well for not knowing what to do at certain junctions, but we've learned, and hopefully our second issue will come out much smoothly. Now is the special moment, since we're talking about releases. We have two incredible members out here, and I'd like to start first with Arunima. Arunima, who's a writer, filmmaker, and cook. And her debut gothic thriller is published by Speaking Tiger, and we have her book here. And I'd like to take this opportunity to read out a blurb, and the title of the book, of course, The Ex-Daughters of Tolstoy House, which is a really, really catchy title, to be honest, right? The blurb is by Mr. Helmut Solanki himself. He writes, "Indian fiction's perhaps most macabre turn yet. You're not ready for this. Some of the characters aren't either. Let the expert duophony carry you deep into the banality of evil." And with that, I'd like to hand over the book to Arunima herself to carry on. Thanks.
Thank you, Arijit. Hi, this is The Ex-Daughters of Tolstoy House. It's out in Goa today, but in the rest of the country on the 20th of February, and it's also available on the Speaking Tiger website. You can also find a few copies at the bookstore here. I'll tell you a little bit about the book. It's a story of two women, a mother and a daughter, Meera and her daughter Naina, and they're caught in a controlling relationship with a narcissistic man, the father and husband in this case. And what I've worked with is the idea that as women, we're quite accustomed with blood. And so what this story does is using that idea, it goes through love letters, memories, and recipes to uncover a series of murders. And the book begins at the point where Meera has died, and Naina is dealing with what she's kind of going to do with the death of her mother. And I'll just read out a smaller than I think I was planning to, because I think we're short of time. I'll just read out 2 paragraphs to put you into the kind of mind space that Naina is when her mother is dead. Washing dead bodies used to be a family activity, back when I was the youngest of 3. Sujata the eldest, then Kavita, then me. We absorbed blood out of marble and wood and cheap tiled floors. It was Ma who taught us how to clean. Blood released is pain unleashed. That's what Ma told us, that when spilled, blood spreads rapidly, moving in a rush to coat every available surface in its sticky sadness. Blood clings onto corners and ridges. It is not enough to wipe it with a cloth or wash away the layer on the surface with buckets of water. Blood is stubborn. It gets inside grooves. It coats the grouting in between tiles, and it seeps into grains of wood. Ma taught us that what blood is always searching for is another resting place, a body to replace the body. So we had to offer blood a home, a place to lie down. We had to learn to open our bodies wide and be the ones to carry wasted blood inside us. We had to find space, push aside organs and puff up the uterus, create an empty cavity deep enough to store blood until once a month the dam breaks and we can expel all that we are holding.
Thank you so much, Arunima. And I would request everybody out here to do check out her book. It's at the bookstore, and do procure a copy and show us your lovely support. Thank you so much. Now we'll move on to another very exciting release. It is by Subi Taba herself. And Subi Taba is a poet and a writer from West Kameng, Arunachal Pradesh. And she was awarded 100 Inspiring Authors of India Award 2018 for her poetry anthology, Dear Bohemian Man. She won the New Asian Writing Short Story Prize 2020 and was shortlisted for the Twist and Twain Short Story Prize 2021. She was awarded the South Asia Speaks 2021 Fellowship and won Penguin Random House's The Perfect Pitch Season 1. She studied Masters in Agricultural Sciences at SASRD, Nagaland University. She works as an Agriculture Development Officer in Arunachal Pradesh. And I'll hand it over to you, Subi, to bring out that exciting release.
Thank you, Arijit, for the lovely introduction. So I have not updated about the cover even in my social media pages. So I think this will be the first time we will be doing a cover reveal. So I request my friends to kindly reveal the cover for my short story collection, which is called Tales. Tales from the Dawnlit Mountains. This is the cover for my book, Tales from the Dawnlit Mountains, which will be releasing in March. And this was also the winner of Penguin Random House, The Perfect Pitch, in the season 1. So I'll just speak briefly about the book. The book is a collection of 10 short stories. All the stories are set in Arunachal, and I have tried to highlight through each story the rich tapestry of tradition, culture, folklore of Arunachal Pradesh, and also the ethnographic identity of different communities of Arunachal Pradesh, symbolism of animals, geopolitical transition, and nature and ecological aspects of Arunachal Pradesh. And this will also be one of the first time a short story collection reflecting on the different communities of Arunachal Pradesh is coming out in the mainstream publishing scenario. So the 10 stories, I'll just briefly highlight. The first story is called A Night with the Tiger, which was the winner of New Asian Short Story Prize. So in our, like, I belong from a community called Nishi. In our Nishi community, we believe that man and tiger originated from the same spirit realm. So I tried to explore that mythology and tried to make a man turn into tiger. Like in our Indian TV soaps, we see Ikcha Darina again. So there will be a were-tiger in the first story. The second story is Macabre Memories of a Headhunter. So I studied in Nagaland, and in Nagaland, the first thing, when you Google Nagaland, the first picture that pops out is the headhunting photos of the old warriors, you know. So, but no, it's very lesser known that headhunting was existent in Arunachal as well, especially in those eastern Arunachals sharing borders with Nagaland and Burma. There was practice of headhunting in communities like Nokte and Wangcho. So I found it very interesting because I discovered it very late. I discovered headhunting in Nagaland first and then later in my own, home state. So it was a really interesting moment for me when I read in one article that in a village in Arunachal, how headhunting started because two men were in love with the same woman. So out of jealousy, the other killed the other, and then the whole story of headhunting started in that village. The third story is the last Doni Polo priest. So many of you might not be knowing that in Arunachal, there is still existing practice of animist indigenous religion called Doni Polo, which translates to Doni means sun, moon. People still worship, though the worship culture is slowly, losing because of cultural and religious appropriation, but Doni Polo is still practicing. And this story I was inspired when I visited my mother's village, where one of the last Doni Polo priests was doing a ritual, and I was seeing like how if he dies, and sadly last year he passed away, how if he dies, the whole culture of worshipping this religion will fade. I remember the priest saying like, as long as he lives, he will live on to sustain the identity of our tribesmen and uphold the name of Doni Polo, the religion, the god our ancestors once worshipped. So that was very inspiring moment for me, and this story was also like shortlisted for Twist and Turn Short Story Prize. The fourth story is The Lost Village. I got inspired to write this story when I was traveling through a new district in Arunachal Pradesh, where my cousin sister was telling me that some python, mystical python came and ate all the people in the village, and that village disappeared. So I got inspiration to write about this story from my cousin's narration. And then there is Curse of the High Priest. In our community, like the rest of Indian community, पुजारी लोग से बहुत डर लगते हैं. Means पुजारी अगर कोई श्राप दे दिया तो बहुत डर लगता है. So same in our culture, we are very afraid of our priests. Some priests say that they can turn the notorious ghost into black beetles with their rituals. So I wrote a story about a family being cursed by the high priest and how each of the family members meets an ultimate death because of that. The next is Plant, Pig and Woman. In Arunachal, there was also this tribe, still existing tribe, called the slave tribes. I think it might not be there in like rest of the nation, but yeah. So I tried to highlight a bit about that tribe. And the last two stories are about the forest and the animals of Arunachal Pradesh, because it's the largest state in Northeast India. And I tried to explore the ecological aspect in my literature. So this is the tales from the Donic Mountains, and I hope it will find you all someday. Thank you.
Who could find him?
Well, that was all from our presentation section. Sorry. Yeah. Any questions from the audience? We would happily answer.
Question.
Just a simple question. How do we join this collective, or can
So,
we? Is
yeah.
it open to us?
Yes, absolutely. So because it's an online platform, security of the members, and we do not want it to be spammed. So we have a simple membership form. It's available on our website. I'll be providing you the cards so that you can check the website out. There is a join us everywhere, like how it has to be. Just click on that, new membership form, simple as that, and within 24 hours, we add you to the group. That's simple as it.
So,
With the padre. I thought possibly. I think so.
hi. I quickly wanted to ask Arunima what the sort of genesis of the idea for your book is and how long you've been working on this.
Thanks. I started working on this book in 2020, and so I finished it in about 2.5 years, and then it took about 1.5 years to get a publisher and do the edits and things like that. So the genesis of the idea actually is blood. It's endometriosis, which is a condition that makes you bleed a lot more during your period, and it's something I have, and it's something that made me think about the fact that what if you have too much blood inside you, and what if you can hold this blood inside you? Can you do something with it? And so that seemed like a really good way to clean up a crime scene. And that's where the book started, and that's kind of the idea that sparked this whole thing.
Thanks. This is basically by way of promoting its sales talk. Sales talk because Arijit's online, I was very fortunate to go through once when he held an incredible session with Gretchen, right? And she's from Germany.
It's from USA.
The USA. And it lasted for about an hour. It was spellbinding. That's why I'm saying it's sales talk, but I mean it's really good. The second thing is this, about Taba. This is again self-publicity. For the Twist and Twain in 21, of the 3 members in the jury, I was one of them. I'm meeting you for the first time. Congratulations. I'd love to read that story again and again. It's a beautiful story. So that's another sales talk. And just now I bought Arunima's book. I was half listening to you because I was reading the book. So that's a third sales talk. And Mr. Lee, he doesn't resemble Bruce Lee at all. But I'm sure in a literary way, he'll be something to read about. That's all I have to say. Thank you, Arijit. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dhruva sir. You have always been an inspiration to me. We are from the same city, and it's always been lovely. I'd also like to mention about Lee Nolan's books as well. So he's written a lot of short stories which has found homes across different magazines, and he's written this book called The Blood and Brown Sugar, right? I'd like you to just talk a little bit about your works, please.
Sure, just quickly. There's an ongoing trilogy. Two of the 3 books have been written. Blood and Bombay Black is the last in the series. Blood and Brown Sugar was the first. And there's also a collection of short stories and sort of darker stories for macabre called A Crate of Rags and Bones. They're all available here in the bookstore as well, and I'll happily autograph them for you.
See.
Well, with that, there are a lot of achievements that you'll find on our website. Many pushcart nominated authors, many members who are part of the upcoming anthology of Westland. They were all part of this. The Yoda Prize winners, 2 of them from our community, and there were many others. You can obviously have a look, and with that, and I wouldn't take much of your time anymore. Thank you for this opportunity, Galv, and we are always indebted to you. And we hope to see you around, and do join us wherever you can and watch our website. Thank you.
All the best.
Thank you. And I will personally personally warn everyone to join.
Arunima, I'm sure you will